Hello, I'm Lee from the blog Little by Little Home, and today I'm going to share with you my budget-friendly solution to repotting houseplants. In case you haven't noticed, houseplants are a pretty big trend right now, and I'll be honest and tell you that I don't jump into trends. Sometimes maybe I do, and then I always regret it. But I don't mind trends that I slowly get into and that I kind of come around to really enjoying, and one of those is houseplants. When I first started seeing them in people's homes, whether on Instagram or on blogs, Pinterest, I was a little like, okay, that's what everybody's doing right now, and I was like, I don't know. But then I started to I started to find some indoor succulents. I enjoy outdoor succulents, but I really enjoy the indoor ones because we have such a long winter that these are ones that I can enjoy inside all year long. Once I started kind of finding those, then I just started to find more plants that I really like. So I guess let me start with this one suggestion when it comes to houseplants. If you're gonna get a houseplant, buy ones that you like. Don't just buy them because they are a trend. I'm gonna tell you right now, I bought one or two trendy ones and I didn't like them in my house. So that's gonna be the first one. Buy ones that you really do like. The second one would be incorporate houseplants that you get for free. This spider plant right here, and this too, were free as gifts. But again, if you really don't like it after it's, someone gave it to you for free and it's in your home and you don't really like it, that doesn't mean you have to keep it. But that is, I will spend a little bit of money on ones that I absolutely love, and I will definitely try out ones if somebody gives me, an offshoot, a growth from theirs, or they split theirs, such as in spider plants. Before I get into budget-friendly solutions for the pots for the houseplants, let's talk about where can you find houseplants. Ask around. Again, a friend might have one in their home that they don't really like, so you can kind of put it out there on social media, or just let friends know. Say, hey, if you have any houseplants you don't want, let me know. I'd love to, or just put out, I'm looking for a blank, blank, blank. I do have a friend that is part of like a local Facebook plant group. So what they do is if they happen to see a certain type of plant out somewhere, they will mention it in this group, or they will trade, exchange, maybe one of theirs, like a palea plant, I say has a baby, grows a baby, and they will then give that to somebody who they know is going to love it. So that would be a great way to look for maybe some local Facebook groups. Another thing is just to kind of keep your eyes out. Don't ignore like the grocery store. I found some really good deals on little houseplants there. Things like Home Depot or Lowe's, local nurseries. Let's talk about pots. When you get this plant, so they come in these flimsy little plastic containers, which are fine. It keeps the cost down. You can purchase it sometimes at some of these places in a really nice pot, but it keeps the cost down because it's just in a cheap plastic container. You can leave that in there for a while. Continue to water it then. As far as watering, I feel like I'm jumping around here, but I'm just trying to get everything out. I water once a week, and I'll say to myself, water Wednesday. And if I forget water Wednesday, then I'll say thirsty Thursday, and I'll try to water things then. And I always check, and maybe I'll do a whole other video about watering and just taking care of them. But I do always check. I will touch the soil, and if it is damp, I will not water it, especially with succulents. Some of these plants you don't want to overwater. So we can do that maybe in another video, talk specifically about certain plants. This video though, I want to talk to you about budget-friendly pots. So, okay, so you have this plant. It's in this cheap plastic container and it's working fine, but you want to find a solution, and you want something that's going to feel like it's a little bit like this. It feels like it's part of your decor because it's ceramic. A little while ago, I did a video about my latest thrift store haul, and I talked a bit about that, about one of the places that I always try to find houseplant pots, and that is at the thrift store. You can check back a couple of videos to see that, and I showed the before, and you'll see later on the before of some of these pots that I had bought. But I'm always looking for what could be reused as a pot, or maybe even they are supposed to be a pot. Do not look at what it looks like, necessarily the color, the patina of it. Just look to make sure that it's good and solid. I tend to purchase ones that are ceramic. I have seen people do glass and then paint them, but I'll just look for something that's some type of ceramic or clay or some type of pottery. So keep your eyes out for that. Get a collection of them like I did, and I'll show you here that I gathered together a bunch of them, and we had one nice day here. It is March and it is cold. Today is rainy out. not snowing, so I guess that's a good thing. But there was one day where it hit 50 degrees and I quick got outside, got out my cardboard and spray painted my pots. I chose just a plain white spray paint and a black. I tend to get the flats. If I can get a flat sheen for the spray paint, I will. If not, then I'll get satin, but I don't like super high glossy things. If you like super high glossy things, go for it. If you like metallics, I mean, the spray paint aisle at Home Depot is like, it's amazing. There's so many different choices and you can find a color for any type of style, color scheme, or anything that you're going with. I just went with black and white because I knew that I would want to kind of play around and try and put these in different places, and I didn't have a specific location. If you have a specific location for a certain plant because you know it's going to do really well in that spot, then maybe paint your pot a certain color to match that space. The trick about thrift store pots or ceramic that, pieces that you're going to reuse as pots is to stop by there fairly often. And I talked a little bit about that in my thrift store haul video. You're probably not gonna find all that you want in one time. Maybe even if you just need one, you might be able to find that one. But if you're looking for, say, maybe you need 10 of them because you're going to transplant some different pots, look for different sizes. There's small ones. I actually have a tiny little one. Spoiler alert, this is what's coming. Isn't it so cute? For little ones, this one I did not paint. Isn't it really pretty? I love just the brown, and I didn't want to paint this one. Some of them, you'll see, some of them were just downright ugly and they definitely needed to be painted. Again, they can be painted any color that'll fit with your color scheme, but I stuck with the black and white. I had looked for some gold spray paint, but I'm gonna tell you right now, there is a run on like rose gold or like a more of a flat or satin gold. You can find the high sheen golds, but it's almost nearly impossible to find ones that have like a lower sheen. Again, just so I think that, well, I do know that the golds are back in. The first thing that I did to my new houseplant pots was to give them a good cleaning. Just wash them with soap and water. Make sure they are fully dry because they are ceramic and they will absorb water, and you want to make sure that they don't have any water absorbed in them. Otherwise, when you spray paint them or paint them, whatever you're going to do with them, they will then hold in that water, and you don't want to do that. I chose to spray paint my pots because it was the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way to update them. I really didn't want to spend too much time on it. Another solution to painting them would to be use some type of paint. I would highly suggest using chalk paint. You can do that, and that can be done inside. The spray painting has to be done outside. So if this was a project I wanted to do in the middle of the winter and I didn't want to wait for a nice day, you could definitely, I would go ahead and just paint them inside. Just get some cardboard and an old towel or something and just do it. Do it right in your living room if you'd like. My tips for spray painting pots would be to start off with them upside down. I laid down some cardboard, if you can get it into some sunshine. If it's in the middle of summer, you might want to do it in the shade just to keep it from drying too fast. But put them upside down and spray paint. Even spray paint the underneath of it because the rim on the bottom might be exposed, and if you don't spray it upside down, you might miss some of those spots. Continue to work your way around. When it comes to spray painting, I will stand in one spot and I will spray everything that I can reach from that one spot, and then I will move a little bit over. So I kind of hit like each thing that I'm spray painting like from 4 different spots. So if you want to divide like the vase into a clock, so maybe start at 12 o'clock and then move to 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whichever direction you want to go in, and then just go, 6 o'clock and then the opposite, and spray paint everything you can reach from that side. Keep your arm moving while you spray paint. Don't ever stop or you're going to end up with some drips and some globs, but just keep moving and move around. Once you have one coat down, just walk away. Leave it alone and let it dry. On your spray paint can, it will tell you how long to let it dry. I tend to just go by eyeing it and looking at it. It depends again upon the temperature and whether it's sunny or not out. Going to want to spray paint each pot 2 times upside down, and make sure it's fully dry this time. Maybe let it a little bit more time after the second time, and then flip it right side up. And then you'll go ahead and spray paint it. Same exact thing, just as if you're at a clock. Start at 12 o'clock and go to like 9 or 3 and then 6 and then the opposite and end up back at 12 o'clock. You don't necessarily have to spray all the way down, but at least get a few inches down into the rim, because as the soil settles, it will go down some and you don't want the little bit of the pot to be exposed. Okay, your houseplant pots are now fully dry. They've completely cured. If it's nice weather and you can do this part of the process outside, I would highly suggest doing so. I did this in March and it was really cold out, and I decided just to do it inside instead of waiting a few months. I really wanted to do these, get these plants into some bigger pots and to transplant and to separate some of them, that I decided just to do it inside. What you're gonna need for this part of the process is some little stones. If you have gravel on your property, then there you go. You have some free little stones. Or you can check out, my favorite place to go is like a dollar store. In my local one, they're white. And this time when I went, they were completely cleaned out. So I headed over to Michael's and just bought some little stones. I don't help with the drainage. If you're gonna do is you're gonna put little stones on the bottom and then go ahead and get your soil in. Put about an inch or two or a couple inches, depends upon the size of the plant and the size of the pot. And then what I do is I hold the plant into the pot and then I start to sprinkle soil all the way around it. The top of the plant, we'll just use this as an example. There are no roots showing here, and this might be a better example as well. So the roots are all going to be down in here, and I'm going to layer the soil all the way up to the top of the roots. I don't want any of those exposed. The houseplants that I worked on one of them was a spider plant, and it was actually from this one. It had just gotten too thick for this pot. This was still deep enough for it, but it had gotten too thick. And this one will get bigger. And if I want it to get bigger, a really great solution is to put it into a bigger pot. So what I did with the spider plant was I separated it out, and it's only left with this part of it, and then the other part is in another pot. Another thing that I worked on was my ZZ plant. It needed a bigger pot, and then I just took one of the little offshoots and it has its own. So this will be a good size for a little bit. Once I start to see it getting a little bit too tall, I will then transfer it to a bigger pot and then use this for some other little new growth. Most likely probably my Palea plant. That one tends to have little offshoots often. I also repotted a Palea plant offshoot that I had. It wasn't looking so good in the container that it was in. I think that it was too small, so I put it into a bigger one, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it grows a bit more, if that was the problem that it was having. I have 2 peperomia, I think that's how you say it, plants in my living room, and that has been like the perfect room. They are getting just enough sunlight, but not enough sunlight in there, and they are growing exponentially. One of them had a little tragic accident, so that one's not quite ready to grow to a bigger pot. But the one that I did have had gotten really tall and really big, and I know that it can get even bigger if I give it more room to grow. I used that pot that it was in, and you then was able to put another plant into it. So do that as you transfer plants, as you get bigger pots, then you can go ahead and put something in it, and then use that smaller one for another one that's needing to graduate to a bigger container. Now the peperomia plant I used, it's not a regular pot. It's not meant for a house plant. It's actually used for kitchen utensils. It is the perfect size. I didn't need a kitchen utensil holder. It was already white, but it just needed a cleaning up, a fresh coat of paint. So I just spray painted it white and used it for my peperomia, and it is the perfect size. It's gonna be able to grow bigger in that pot. One thing that I had quite a lot of were Christmas cactuses. My mom had clipped a bunch of pieces off of hers, and I had them sitting in just a glass jar with water for a while for them to grow roots. It's taken quite a few months for them to grow some roots, but I felt like now was the right time. I'm not really quite sure how they're going to do. One of them is blooming in another pot, but these were a little bit harder to put in, so we'll see. I figure the pot was probably $1. I spray painted it, and I got these from my mom for free. So if they all die, it's not gonna be a huge deal, and I can reuse this pot for something else. But we'll see how they do. Once all of the plants were in the pots, I brought them into our laundry room and gave them a fairly good watering. I made sure that it wasn't overflowing. I did it a couple of times. Instead of doing one watering, I did like 2 times, and maybe some of the pots might have needed 3. The potting soil I used was extremely dried out. I just got it to the point where the top of it felt damp, just like I would with a normal watering, and then I just let them be. Decided on the different places I wanted them in the house, put them there. We're just gonna keep an eye on them, and I will go start then with watering them once a week and kind of keep an eye on them. But just know that they might go into a little bit of shock. You might notice a little bit of, weepiness, and maybe they need to be watered again. They might need just a little bit extra attention, but houseplants don't really need that much attention. Just water them once in a while. Another solution would be that I've heard of people doing is putting an ice cube instead of watering them. If you're kind of worried about it being too much water, just drop an ice cube in, maybe on Water Wednesday or Thirsty Thursday. Just drop in an ice cube and it will melt as the hours or the days go by, again, depending upon the temperature in your home. Well, thanks for stopping by and watching this video. I hope that you found it informative. I hope that you are now headed out to your local thrift store and taking a look at all of the cheap houseplant pots that you can find there. Start a collection and start to ask around about plants. Maybe once in a while stop into a store. I have found some of the best plants for like $5, and it has felt, to me, I've been like, what a great day. So if you're a nerd like me, just pop in sometimes and take a look around. Often when I'm in Home Depot and I'm waiting for my paint to mix, the plant aisle's right across, and I just take a little browse through. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. If you can hit that like button and subscribe, that would be amazing. If you have any houseplant tips or where you have found some great prices for some houseplant pots, leave those in the comment section below. But see you next time.